Suddenly I noticed a guy dressed in black, running looked like full gas towards the North Korean side. And my first thought was, what an absolute idiot. I assumed he was sort of getting a mate to film it for some kind of TikTok stunt or something like that.
As temperatures across the country reach record highs, some workers in South Florida might be getting new protections. Here's CBS's Jim Crisula.
Members of the Miami-Dade County Commission have given initial approval to the so-called K-Calor Ordinance. That's Spanish for how hot. It sets new heat standards for outdoor workers. Labor advocate Oscar Leandro.
There's an urgency for a countywide heat standard that would guarantee water, shade, and rest for outdoor workers here in Miami-Dade.
Companies that repeatedly fail to offer the outdoor worker protections could be fined up to $3,000 per day.
Sheryl Crow has joined a growing group calling out country music star Jason Aldean after he dropped a controversial music video. It was shot in front of a courthouse in Columbia, Tennessee, where a black man was lynched in the 1920s. Crow tweeted, "Even people in small towns are sick of violence." Aldean denies the lyrics are anti-Black Lives Matter. The Dow is up 187 points. This is CBS News.
Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed, the end-to-end hiring solution. Attract, interview, and hire candidates all in one place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Civic Media radio stations, providing your news, conversations, and fun you won't find anywhere else.
With news on WAUK The Shaw, I'm Stuart J. Waddles, and here's what you need to know. The Waukesha County Fair starts today. The oldest fair in Wisconsin is celebrating 181 years with a theme of Seeing is Believing. Paul Melodick, a Republican candidate, won the special election in the 24th Assembly District with 53% of the vote, defeating Democrat Bob Tatterson. The plan to relocate the Milwaukee Public Museum to a new downtown location has taken a step forward. Jimmy Koska has more.
The Plan Commission has approved a zoning change for the proposed museum site at West McKinley Avenue and North 6th Street. The zoning change still requires the approval of the Common Council. The museum intends to begin construction on the new $200 million building early next year and aims to complete the move to its new facility by 2026.
With news on WAUK, I'm Stuart J. Waddles.
Attention, Wisconsin veterans.
Hello, I'm Tony Evers, the governor of Wisconsin. If you are a veteran struggling to pay for rent, utilities, or other life-sustaining services, I want you to know that the Veterans Rental Assistance Program is here to help. You have already made a most noble sacrifice. You shouldn't have to continue doing so. We are here to support you. The Veterans Rental Assistance Program was created by and for people living in Wisconsin, with benefit approvals being issued to veterans in just days, not months. It's never easy to ask for assistance, but rest assured, we're here to help. You've always been there for us. We want you to know that we're here for you. Call 833-WIS-BRAP. That's 833-947-8727, or visit vrapwi.com. On behalf of the state of Wisconsin, thank you.
This summer, 5:40 a.m. WAUK has a new lineup.
Yes, that's awesome.
Starting at 6 a.m. Up North News, 8 to 10, The Earl Ingram Show. Mondays, 8 to 9, Under the Helmet with the Gravedigger, Gilbert Brown and Earl Ingram. 10 to 12, As Goes Wisconsin. At noon, Civic Media Network News. At 12:15, Town Call. 1 to 3, The Todd Alba Show. 3 to 4, Matt Flynn Direct. 4 to 6, The Devil's Advocates with Dom and Crute. And 6 to 7, The Maggie Dawn Show. On 5:40 a.m. WAUK.
We've all felt left out. And for people who move to this country,
What if I just, instead of giving out the talk and text line, just started giving up Robin Boss's number all the time? 844-96-PARTY. What is it?
Write it down. 608-237-9163. Call now.
Moving Wisconsin forward, one joke at a time, this is Kristen Bry with As Goes Wisconsin.
Yada, yada, yada. Hello, Wisconsin!
We had a special election yesterday, and we have the results. Not so surprisingly, as expected, Republican Paul Melitik won the special election in the 24th Assembly District. But what was less expected is the single-digit margin in a heavily Republican district. So my question is, are these results surprising? Expected? Are they foreshadowing? Or is it a big nothing burger because it was only 29% turnout?
And what was it, like 10,000 people?
Yeah.
It was
Which,
just,
it's a special election that most of us, we talked about it like twice in the week of on this
True.
show. So, you can't, if you don't know about it, you can't vote.
True.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, how much can you glean from the massive point gain that the Democrats saw? And how much does that tell us what could happen, not just for next year, because obviously if we weren't to get new maps, it would still be a heavily Republican leaning district. Who did get new maps, or even I think I saw this morning, if you look at what that district was in the old maps, which was much more competitive, is it telling us that the same thing that's happening in Waukesha and across the WOW counties? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why my voice just broke like a teenager.
It gets real emotional when she talks about the WOW counties.
Greg looked at me and was like, what just happened to you? But I don't know. I'm because the numbers, the number nerdy geeky guys on Twitter were breaking this down, and basically the Republican won by 7 points, but the district has a partisan lean of 23 points. And it's a pretty impressive, performance if you look at just the numbers. But again, only 29% turnout. So does it really tell us anything?
That speaks more to the apathy of the voters, maybe not even knowing about it. How tied? I don't know much about that. Well, first of all elections are special. How tied was this winner to Trump and that sort of message?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't know.
It just sort of, I feel like it just sort of happened too. Like, hey, there's an election next week. Wait, what now? Wasn't there just an election? No. Okay, cool. Yeah. I mean,
well, that district has had to vote a lot.
I feel like and next week, folks, if you live in that district, you're voting for dog catcher. I feel like that you take all of the elements, the low voter turnout, and you take the close points, the close amount of votes. And I think there's too much to consider to glean anything exciting from it, other than no one really showed up. Like only a small amount of people showed up. So
you don't think there's anything? Because I think I can't tell if this is wish casting. When I woke up this morning and was perusing through Twitter and responses, and some Democrats, left-leaning pundits, etc. I don't know, in the tone of how they were writing about it, talking about it talking about it almost like it's a win, right? That this is foreshadowing into what's the trend that has been happening across suburbs, and that this is something that we can continue to build on throughout into next year. So it's more of that I think is this an indicator?
No, I absolutely agree with that. I mean, that's one of the things I take into consideration. Yeah, it's an indicator. Will the Democrats do bupkis about it? Probably not. They're gonna be like, nah, we got other places we put our money. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like that. We saw that last year in the election. Like so many people upset about elections not going the way of Democrats because the whether it's the DCCC or the party on the whole just pulled money from districts and said, we can't win that one. That's fine. It's the devil is better than the devil that I don't. And so, yeah, sure. Will Democrats, will the Wisconsin Democratic Party put money? Will the county put money into it? Who knows? Yeah. We'll just wait and see. But I mean, really, to me, I will quote you, is kind of just a nothing burger. Like, it's cool.
Well, I know we have some
but they
listeners
still
up
lost.
in that district, in the northern Milwaukee suburbs, and so would love to hear from you as far as if you voted yesterday, if you feel like there is a changing tide that you can sense at all. 844-967-2789. Is there anything to glean from yesterday's election, or is it just kind of something that happened? 844-96-PARTY. What do you think, Jane?
I think it's moderately hopeful.
Okay.
That's how I'd put it. Because again, the turnout was minuscule and he still lost. But the fact that it is such a heavily Republican district with by 23 points, and he only won by 7, that should be worrying for some.
You know, folks, if you listen to the show, anytime Jane labels something mildly hopeful, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. I mean, it takes a lot, and it got her there. And
that is a good point. That is a really good point, Greg.
folks voting yesterday, good work. Good work.
No, that is a good work. And I actually got a text. Well, here, I'll come back to that as far as, but some other ways to cut this pie. The district was Trump 24 points in 2016.
Okay.
In 2020, it was plus Trump. It was Trump plus 17. And it was plus 7 for Melitik. So that's a big swing. And even Dan Knodel, when he re-won that seat, I think it was over 20% in last November. And then I saw this, it was tweeted out that of the 7 municipalities that have voters in the 24th district, Tatterson, the Democrat, won 5 of them. And then 8 months ago, Evers didn't win a single one.
Dang.
Which I think is interesting.
That's once again, that's interesting data. I like that data. Now, what will the party do about it to wake up those voters who are apathetic or not disenfranchised, but disenchanted, whatever? And how do you get those people coming to the polls and vote for your person? Then
absolutely.
But we have someone on the phone.
We
someone
do have
really
someone
cool on the phone
I
too.
know. Llewellyn Bird. What say you?
The original tweeter.
On Twitter, right? Yeah. I say it's exciting news. I mean, I was disappointed Bob didn't win. I went up there and knocked on doors for him because that's what I do.
That's what you do, Luann. I love it.
I'm like, if I want change, I got to get out there and do it. And
exactly.
It was so invigorating to talk to Democrats at the doors about what they want, and they were so enthusiastic to get out and vote for Bob.
Now,
oh wow,
Luann, in your travels up there and your door knockings, which I've done many times, and I know how that's a thankless job, but thank you. Did you come across anybody who was center, right leaning, who's like expressing not excitement about their party or about the being excited about the Democrat? I'm always interested when talking to people at the doors, those conversations when politicians or people knocking on those doors say, like, I had really good conversation with people that I don't agree with all the way.
Oh, I did. I hit one. I hit one.
I'll take it.
So 90% of my doors went great, but I'm pretty sure the one, it was very short, very simple. I said, do you care about women's rights? Yes, I do. I said, okay, think about that when you're voting. It was that simple because really we got to talk about the issues and what matter to people.
Yeah.
And we have to continue, like you said, to give people hope because that's what I think spurs action. If you believe that we can change things, what Bob Tatterson did up there, I'm impressed. 17 points to 7.
That's huge.
Now, what are the Democrats going to do?
Exactly.
What are we going to do about that?
See,
I think that's the question.
See, that's exactly what. Yeah, I 100%. Luann, you're so smart.
We're gonna clone Luann and sprinkle her all across the state of Wisconsin to be knocking on doors in every district.
Are we gonna call Luann's second clone 2Ann? Boom.
Yeah. Luann point. What is it? 0.2.
Yeah.
Versus
Luann 2.0.
I'm happy to share it. I'm happy. That's it. Luann 2.0.
We need that. We need that excitement.
We need people to just keep getting out there, and I'm so happy to share that with everybody. And the Democratic Party I've been on both ends of that. I've run twice. One time I was not selected to get the resources to win. And this time I was, because the focus on stopping the override of the governor's veto was so important to the Democratic Party, and it was to me too.
Yeah.
So I've talked to other candidates who didn't get all those resources, and I still encourage them to think about the difference you make when you go to a door, even if you know it's difficult to win in your district. Even if the Democrats don't give you money, just stick with your passion, stick with what it is you care about, and do it again, because that's how we're gonna save democracy, really.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
How's the podcast, Luann?
Oh, good. Oh, I can't wait. I think this weekend we will be releasing our very first one on gun control.
Okay.
Which will be timely because there have been 3 bills introduced which we can't get a hearing on, and yet Dan Knodel can get a hearing on a constitutional amendment that would ban churches from closing down during a pandemic. My podcasts are just another way to try to reach out.
Absolutely. And remind people where they can find it.
I was just going to say, this weekend there's one Monday night there's one in Greenfield at the home of Will Radler. He was a very successful businessman. He created the Knockout Rose. He's 80 years old, and he's a proud LGBTQ plus person.
We've talked to Will.
And you did?
We've had him on the show.
He cares a bunch. Now, you can actually come to his backyard where we're going to record the podcast Monday night, 6:30.
Perfect.
And then
Luann, I got to let you go because we're coming up
beautiful
against a break. So will you email me all that information so I can share it?
I will.
All right. Thank you. Always a pleasure to hear from you, Luann. Thank you for calling. We got to go to our first break, but we would love to hear from you as far as yesterday's election results. Are they surprising, expected, foreshadowing? A nothing burger, 844-967-2789. And then we're going to get some Brewers tickets out. It's been a while. So we got a trivia question that you have to answer right because I'm going to be a stickler this time. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Thunderstorms, lows dip down to about 63. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Tomorrow, chance for scattered thunderstorms. High temperatures reach up to 81. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 73.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Madnair, and it's Wednesday, so Greg Buck is here. And we are starting the show with talking about yesterday's special election results and the fact that there was a big jump for the Democrat. He still lost, but it basically went from a 23-point lean for Republicans in that district, and he lost by 7 points. And so just throwing around if it's, a win, if it's surprising, if it's foreshadowing, or if, it's not that big of a deal because only 30% turnout. And when it's 2/3 turnout, it would look very differently. But 844-967-2789. But before we get to the phones on that, throughout today's show, we have more Brewers tickets. And I, in the honor of sports and women's sports, have a trivia question that sometimes we're actually pretty lenient on. But because these tickets aren't until this weekend, we have, if no one gets it today, we can give them away tomorrow. So I'm going to be a stickler about this one, especially because you can just look it up on your phone before you call in. But
Kristen Bry endorses cheating.
The Brew Crew is back home to host the Atlanta Braves this weekend, and we have 4 tickets to give away for Saturday's game. The first person to get the trivia question right, you can either take all 4 or you can just take 2, and then we'll do another trivia question. But the first pitch is this Saturday at 6:15 p.m. And as a reminder, these tickets are brought to you by Civic Media's Milwaukee Brewers Home, our flagship station, Oshkosh Air Support, 98.3 FM, 1100 AM, and you can hear that throughout the Fox Valley. You can also catch the Brewers on WRCE, News from the Center, Richland Center, 107.7 FM, 1450 AM. All right, so here's the question.
Yeah.
And I'm doing this early, so we have the whole show.
Okay.
For someone to get it right. All right. What midfielder on the women's U.S. national team, soccer team, graduated from UW-Madison? 844-967-2789. I'm not expecting the phones to ring off the hook because it is a little hard, but we are going to be talking about the World Cup that starts tomorrow at the end of today's show.
Women's World Cup.
Women's World Cup. That starts at the end of the show. So if you know the answer to that, what midfielder on the women's U.S. national team played for and graduated from UW-Madison, you will win the tickets.
Hint, it's not my mom.
It's not your mom. It's also not Megan Rapinoe. It's not the other most famous. But
are they all named Megan Rapinoe?
I was thinking about that. Should I just thinking of trivia questions? I was like, would an easy one to do with the women's national team just be name a player? Jane, could you name a player besides Megan Rapinoe on the?
No.
Can you?
Yeah, Miss Ham.
She's not.
Yeah.
Well, she's not the current one.
No, I'm talking about the current players.
No, absolutely not.
Really?
Yeah, no.
I thought you liked soccer.
I do. Okay. Wow. Now this is just to turn into corner.
Well,
Greg.
we'll table it. We'll table it and get into this at the 11:30 segment.
Sorry, I just have so much time on my hands.
All right. So that is the trivia question. You can look it up. You don't have to know it off the top of your head. The Journal Sentinel already wrote an article about this person. And so who is the midfielder on the women's U.S. national team that is about to play in the World Cup who graduated from and played for UW-Madison? 844-967-2789. All right. So back to the topic at hand. We have a comment on the live stream about the election from Tony Zimmerman. With such a low turnout, you can't glean much because only the very motivated show up. The lean Republicans who usually show up, but not always, probably stayed home.
Yeah, I mean, it's very true.
Yeah.
And the question I would have is how many, you have the numbers, but of the Democrats who voted there, how many didn't vote? You know what I mean? I'd love to, because yes, of course. Lots of Republicans didn't show up, but how many Democrats actually did? Was it all of them? 20%, 50%? I'm sure you can crunch the math by looking at the population, but I'm not going to do that right now. But yeah, that there's the interesting thing is how motivated were the Dems, because that's where it seems like the excitement's happening is in those hard to win places, the Dems are saying, no, we might lose, but we're not going to lose sitting down. We're going to lose standing up.
And what is interesting is if you think back, and I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but this does fall in line with the trend of what happened in the last special election. Because like we said, this district's been voting a lot. Because back in April, there was the special election for the state Senate seat, of which Dan Knodel won. So that's why his seat was open. But obviously it's a bigger district because it's the Senate instead of the Assembly. But Dan Knodel only like narrowly
I was going to
beat
say
Jody Habish, Sinekin.
Yeah.
And so like it feels like this adds to the argument that at least they're motivated. I mean, at least Democrats in that area are motivated as far as what it could mean for next year, especially if the maps change.
Yeah.
So we would love to hear from you. We're just talking about the special election results from last night for the 24th Assembly District. If you thought they were surprising, if they were, it's obviously expected because it was already a district that leans Republican. But especially if you live in that area, because I know that we have some listeners up in there. I know Dave from Mequon's out there. 844-967-2789. That's 844-96-PARTY. What do you think about yesterday's election results? And we have 1 minute. Should we start the call or take it on the other side?
We'll take it on the other side.
All right, we're going to take the call on the other side of the break. We would love to hear from you. Shoot us a text, give us a call, leave us a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
I'm ready to play today. Look at me, I can be. So I'm moving home. I'm ready to play today.
State Senate earlier this year. With the news on WAUK, I'm Stuart J. Waddles.
Living happily ever after isn't always a reality. If you're over 50 and are considering divorce, attorney Andrea Gage with the Everson Law Firm can provide the guidance you need. Andrea focuses on silver divorces, the kind that get more complicated over time and present unique challenges. A family, multiple properties, significant assets. Andrea and the team at Everson Law have the experience to protect your interests. Call Everson Law to set up an appointment with Andrea today. It's never too late to be happy. Everson Law, 920-435-3734.
Does your financial strategy include your hopes and dreams? What matters most to you? For over 100 years, Thrivent has helped clients like you find financial solutions for life's important goals. Explore a full range of options, from financial advice and investments to insurance, banking, and generosity programs. To have a heart-to-heart about your finances, contact Mandy Roberts, who you may recognize as Mandy Wright. Call her at 715-470-1303. 715-470-1303. Mandy Roberts proudly serves the central Wisconsin area. For more details, visit thrivent.com/disclosure.
Attention, Wisconsin veterans.
Hello, I'm Tony Evers, the governor of Wisconsin. If you are veterans struggling to pay for rent, utilities, or other life-sustaining services, I want you to know that the Veterans Rental Assistance Program is here to help. You have already made a most noble sacrifice. You shouldn't have to continue doing so. We are here to support you. The Veterans Rental Assistance Program was created by and for people living in Wisconsin, with benefit approvals being issued to veterans in just days, not months. It's never easy to ask for assistance, but rest assured, we're here to help. You've always been there for us. We want you to know that we're here for you. Call 8.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. We are talking about yesterday's special election results and people's reactions to it. And we have on the phone Scott from Chicago.
Hey, Scott, you got the trivia question.
Oh,
correct.
the trivia question. Okay.
Yes.
You got it correct. All right. So I will ask you, Scott, who is the midfielder on the U.S. women's national team who graduated and played for UW-Madison?
Rose Lavelle.
Boo!
Ding, 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 ding.
Scott from Chicago. You know stuff about soccer.
Scott from Chicago. Great job. All right. Well, you have won the tickets. That's not long. Because you're from Wisconsin, right? I know you call in a lot, but you're a Brewers fan?
I am actually from Chicago, moving to Wisconsin later this year.
That's what it is.
I am a growing Brewers fan. I'll put it that way.
Good answer.
What was that? I didn't hear that.
He said he's a growing Brewers fan.
Good, Scott.
Because if you were a Cubs fan, Greg might ban us from giving you the tickets.
True. I have it in the contract of all the tickets. If you are a Cubs fan, especially one from the suburbs, you can't have them.
Well, actually, I've kind of poked fun at my dad my whole life. I've always been against whatever team he cheers for. So I've kind of by default been a Brewers fan my whole life because it's against the Cubs. So it worked.
Congratulations, Scott. You are now my best friend.
Well, congratulations, Scott. Thank you. And Jane will get all of your information on if you want all 4 tickets, if you want 2 tickets. But have fun at the game on Saturday. Don't forget to take some pictures of you on the club level. Tag Civic Media, tag our show. We'll share it. But and thank you for always listening.
Thank you very much.
And thanks for sending that info, Scott. Have a great time at the game. 844-967-2789. If you ever want to call and or text, feel free to do so.
Well, so I also thought, as we're talking about the changing voting habits of stereotypically, I think what we think of as a pretty Republican-leaning district. Also this morning, Pew Research Center has recently released data that might help, in general, some of these stereotypes that we have about Republicans or Democrats and what the party is. And I thought it'd be fun to kind of go through and dispel a couple of those common political misconceptions. But before we move on, we have a couple texts, Jane.
Yes, we do. From the 414, try not to read too much into this special election, except the Republicans did enough to win. If Dems want to win, they'll have to work harder, and harder in order to flip any seat. This was a very good effort. It was just not quite enough.
I agree with that. That's what we were talking about with Luann. It's what do you do with that energy and excitement then in the next time, You know, how do you, especially talking to people who are like, I don't know, those middle people who can influence.
And John from the Falls says, hi, everybody. I hope Luann is right, but I fear she's not. It seems like an awfully big jump considering how easily the Republican-funded 3 moms pushed out the people with experience on the Menominee Falls School Board last year. Who knows, maybe Falls residents are getting sick of politicians who can justify spending $1 million to switch the home and visitor bleacher seats on our high school football field so there is less sun in people's eyes than coming out and telling residents they have to cut funding for the music program at the middle school. Maybe they're actually upset about Republicans refusing to fully fund our public library to keep it as one of the highlights of the town, or that we now have a superintendent incapable of stringing together grammatically correct answers when addressing the public, and even why he wanted this job. I'm hopeful but skeptical. Sorry to be a downer.
There's a lot.
There's a lot there.
A lot to unpack
there. And I have heard, I actually need to go through some of my DMs because as we were talking last week with Melissa Temple, and I had asked people on social media to send me stories of things that are happening in their districts when it comes to their school districts. And Menominee Falls definitely did come up as far as the WIS-RED takeover of that school district. So that's probably a future topic that we're going to dive into more.
And I'd look for ties to Moms for Liberty there too.
The text reminds me of an old Onion article. It says, in shocking move, local school district votes to cut football from high school program. Just kidding. It was the arts.
All right. So, politics are full of false stereotypes and journalists fall into them. We fall into them on this show as far as just, Republicans are the rural party or Democrats now win white college graduates in an attempt to, make broader points or try to predict, because we're all, as much as we say we're not in the prediction industry anymore, that's what we do. What do the polls say? So here are some myth-busting facts backed with data, and we will say how much you guys find these surprising or not.
All right.
Democrats aren't young. Both parties are old.
Well, oh boy, man, really coming out there hot and heavy with a big one.
But yeah, it's true that young voters tend to prefer Democrats while their parents and grandparents are more likely to vote for the Republicans. In 2022 House election, 68% of voters aged 18 to 29 backed a Democrat, and 56% of seniors voted for Republicans. But older voters rule both parties. In 2022, 6 in 10 Democrats and 7 in 10 Republicans were over 50.
Wow.
So,
yeah, that's not so surprising or shocking.
No, that wasn't a big myth for you.
That wasn't a huge myth for me. I mean, yeah, no.
All right, myth number 2. Republicans aren't rural. Democrats aren't urban. Does that surprise you?
I mean,
Jane looks inquisitive.
I'm confused.
So the stereotype is that everyone who lives in rural areas is Democrat or Republicans, and anyone who lives in the city is.
Yeah, I mean, think of like county voting maps. Whenever we see them,
Well,
it's
yeah,
always the cities, and no matter, this isn't just Wisconsin, but it's the city areas that look blue.
Yeah,
and then there's
of course, yeah. But that's also not a bit. I mean, I feel like what they're doing with this article is saying your most base stereotypes are wrong. It's like, yeah, of course they're wrong. They're not based on a lot.
But then why do we keep buying into them? Because we hear this all the time.
Well, I mean, as a group, yeah, we buy into them because it's easier to forget it, to say like, oh, don't worry about it. It's like with the special election. It's like easy to say, why would we run a Democrat in farmland, Western Waukesha County? There's nobody out there, but there are people out there who would vote for them. I see it's always wonderful to see like a Joe Biden sign on a farm. You're like, that's nice. I like that. Even if you like, even if I don't like him, you're just like that guy is the poop in everyone's milk right now. I love it.
So should I just stop reading that?
No. Ooh.
You're like, well, I feel like this article is not very obvious.
That's a terrible impression of me.
All right. Well, every electoral map has deep blue dots, major metro areas surrounded by bright red rural set areas. As a result, pundits often treat Democratic voters as if they are stuffed into a single Manhattan apartment, while Republicans are spread among the grid of farms that span the rest of the nation. The reality, most voters from both parties live in the suburbs.
Oh,
Mm.
not in the city.
Not in the city, not in the rural
Interesting
area.
That's interesting.
Republicans and Democrats tend to win different types of suburbs. Democrats fare best in neighborhoods that are close to the city center, while Republicans thrive in exurbs and small metros. But despite how some maps may look, suburbanites, not small town farmers or big city baristas, are the core of both parties.
That's interesting.
That
I like
is.
that.
See, you jumped. You didn't let me get through the thing before you started judging it.
I've judged what I want. Jump to conclusions.
All right, number 3. Religious Democrats and secular Republicans are both common.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
Democrats typically represent the most secular voters. They consistently win almost 90% of self-identified atheists, along with roughly 80% of agnostics. Republicans, by contrast, routinely take more than 80% of white evangelical voters, but that doesn't mean one party believes in God and the other doesn't. Most Democrats are Christians, and a solid chunk of Republicans claim no religious affiliation whatsoever. And the GOP is less pious than these numbers suggest. An increasing number of Republicans report that they seldom or never attend religious services.
Is that because they're a-religious, or is it because they're just like every other American out there who's just like, it's fine. I'll go next week. I'll go
on Christmas.
I'll go Easter. I'll put a little extra in the
I don't
time.
know. Republican politicians still represent the interests of the religious right, especially on abortion and LGBTQ rights, but both parties are home to a mix of devout and secular voters.
And I think that's really important to recognize, because the right has been trying to claim that they're the only ones who Jesus loves.
I know.
Or I'm sorry, I said that wrong. They're the only ones who love Jesus.
But probably both.
Yeah, they probably think both ways.
Right. And that's just not accurate. It's not.
My white Jesus loves me.
Baby Jesus or white Jesus?
Yes.
All right, number 4. Both parties rely on white college graduates, not just Democrats. When Donald Trump took over the GOP, many white-collar Republicans defected to the Democratic Party, but the magnitude of that shift has been greatly exaggerated. In 2022, only 52% of white college graduates voted for Democrats, and 47% favored Republicans. So that is a much more even split than I think pundits usually talk about it. Both parties relied on white college graduates for roughly a third of their votes.
Say that one more time.
So this is from 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Both parties relied on white college graduates for roughly a third of their votes. Democrats, it was 37%, and Republicans, it was 31% of their racial and educational breakdown. So then the rest of it. So Democrats were 37% white college educated, 27% white non-college educated, 36% non-white, versus the two bigger discrepancies for Republicans then is white college educated is 31%, white non-college educated 54%, and non-white 15%.
That tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, last one. The Hispanic vote is not the GOP's only route to victory.
Okay.
Yeah.
In 2020, Trump made substantial gains with Hispanic voters. Since then, political analysts have spent more time and effort analyzing Hispanic Republicans than almost any other group. But Hispanic voters are still a small chunk of the GOP. As Hispanic heritage age into voting population and older white Republicans age out, Republicans will need to increase their share of Hispanic vote. The smart move for the GOP would be to keep building a Hispanic base now and profit later, but that's not the GOP's only possible move. Only 1 in 10 voters self-identify as Hispanic. Republicans could very well win in 2024 by building on recent gains with white working class and Asian American voters, regaining recently lost college-educated suburbanites, or finally making inroads with Black voters. These groups, which make up the other 90% of the electorate, deserve attention too.
Totally agree. Yep. Every time the Republicans lose big, They always have their postmortem on the various cable shows. And they're always like, we got to go look back at our messaging. We got to go look back at how we talked to it. What you need to do is look back and be like, all right, in 10 years, we want to take over, not next election cycle. How do we include everyone and not use just scare them into voting for us, which doesn't work. So, yeah.
One more quick text from the 608. Don't kid yourself. The GOP is freaking out after this election. It matches the results from April. Special elections do tell you something. Even split the change in half. Republicans are losing by a significant amount in 2024. With new maps, they can flip the assembly. And you know who the base Dem voter is? Millennial, well-educated white women. And that is why Dems are growing in the districts that voted yesterday.
So that's interesting because I think that's a great text, but also is like with what we just talked about, does that align? But I don't know. I do think because we talked to John Johnson about the having realistic expectations as far as what the maps could do, but all will be unfolded because that is coming up quickly. All right, we got to take another break. When we come back, Greg's weekly roundup. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Always keep my feet on the ground singing. See, mama knows best. See, daddy knows best. See, mama knows. See, mama knows best. See, daddy knows best. See, mama knows best. Yeah.
From the kennel to the coop, whatever the season, Fleet Farm has everything to keep your animals happy and healthy. From training your pup to sit season, to mastering those retrieval skills season. From clipping your horse for competition season, to keeping the backyard birds well-fed season. And of course, loving your pets like family season. There's a reason people say, if Fleet Farm doesn't have it, you don't need it. Because we have it all. Fleet Farm, built for real life.
It's the Max Inc. Radio Concert Series at the Waukesha County Fair, Thursday, July 20th on the Whammy and Guitars for Vet stage, featuring Iron Plow, Karma Shotgun, and Talent. Music starts at 7:30, hosted by WAUK's Don Brown. The Waukesha County Fair on the Whammy and Guitars for Vet stage. Find more info at guitars4vets.org. Presented by WAUK 540 AM, The Shaw 101 FM, and Max Inc. Radio. We are local music.
This summer, 540 AM WAUK has a new lineup.
Yes, that's awesome.
Starting at 6 a.m. Up North News, 8 to 10, The Earl Ingram Show. Mondays, 8 to 9, Under the Helmet with the Grave Digger, Gilbert Brown and Earl Ingram. 10 to 12, As Goes Wisconsin. At noon, Civic Media Network News. At 12:15, Town Call. 1 to 3, The Todd Alba Show. 3 to 4, Matt Flynn Direct. 4 to 6, The Devil's Advocates with Dom McCroot. At 6 to 7, The Maggie Dawn Show. On 540 AM WAUK.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. A blend of clouds and sun this afternoon, with highs around 84. Southerly winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. Partly cloudy skies again tonight. Chance for scattered thunderstorms. Lows level off around 63. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times tomorrow. Chance for scattered thunderstorms. Highs level off around 81. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 73 degrees.
What did I miss? What did I miss? Virginia, my home, sweet home. I want to give you a kiss. I've been in Paris meeting lots of different ladies. I guess I basically missed the late 80s. I traveled the wide, wide world and came back to this.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Matnair, and it is time for Greg Bach's Weekly Roundup.
Thank you very much. The headlines you probably saw, but definitely didn't read. Let's start with music stars babies name news.
Music stars baby names news.
Baby name news.
All right.
Okay. Maybe I'll get an idea for.
Oh, trust me, you don't want it.
Okay.
Meghan Trainor has had her second baby. This may be a surprise to you. The Grammy Award-winning singer-songwriter has announced the birth of her second child, and her and her husband have landed on a name that is decidedly old school, but to me did not necessitate a story on a major website because they named the child Barry Bruce Trainer.
Barry Bruce
Mm-hmm.
Trainer, but it's a girl?
It's a boy.
It's a boy.
Yep. That's the name. But I feel like if you're gonna write a story about a person naming their child, like it's gonna surprise. Because it literally said it's gonna surprise you. I was not surprised by any of those names.
Not unless they spelled it Berry,
No,
like
they
a
didn't.
berry.
Nope, they spelled it Barry and Barry Bruce Trainer. And I wanted to give some suggestions on what some shocking names, surprising names. First, we're gonna start with Megan Trainer Jr. the Fourth. That's a surprising name. Gloria Gaynor Trainer. Paul McCartney.
Trainer.
Just Paul McCartney.
Okay.
That's it. Choo Choo Trainer. And Exa Dark Sigil Trainer, which is also the same name as Elon Musk's kid. But
okay.
How many Sophies do you know? So you can have two Exa Dark Sigil.
Yeah.
That's
sure.
a cool name because the E and the A are smushed together. So
I like Choo Choo Trainer.
I like Choo Choo Trainer. That's my favorite.
Thank you. Next, beer news.
Beer news.
Hey, Kristen, do you love Bud Light?
I can't think of the last time I had one, but also I'm pregnant, so.
Do you love Kid Rock?
No.
Well, guess what? Now you can enjoy the lackluster taste of Bud Light in Kid Rock's even more lackluster bar. That's right. Seems like Kid Rock is no longer a devil with a cause, as he is coming at it. I'm sorry, I misread it. That's right. Seems like Kid Rock is a devil without a cause, as his cause of having Big Uncle at Thanksgiving energy and murdering 30 racks of beer is all in vain, as he still sells Bud Light at his bar.
Oh.
It seems that Kid Rock's big ass honky tonk rock and roll steakhouse, that is the actual name of the place in Nashville, is still serving the controversial beer along with other products from Anheuser-Busch. And I just say, what a waste of ammo. Baw with the baw, more like baw with the boo.
Nice.
Thank you. Lottery news. Y'all buying your lottery tickets?
I'm sure Mike has bought
There you
one.
go.
My husband is.
Mega Million jackpot soared to $720 million, while some could win tonight's $1 billion Powerball jackpot. And I got to say, I love this time of year because it's when people pop out of the woodwork and say, I'll start buying when there's real money involved. I'm sorry, Randy. Apparently $150 million isn't enough for you to divert cash from your Natty Light and Pall Mall fund. 150, that's not good enough for you. That's not, you're gonna spend $1 on that. Okay. All right. So you're gonna buy tickets? Mike's gonna buy tickets?
Mike's probably gonna buy tickets.
And you said your husband's buying tickets?
I'm sure Paul's already got
I'm sure we'll
tickets.
have a couple tickets at home too.
Yeah.
So when we all win together,
We'll pool it.
and we're gonna
Have a whole staff. I literally I don't want
to.
I for some reason got on this a couple days ago as I was prepping for the show, and I had like a full-blown daydream of what I would do if I won the lottery. And like it's so much money, but like one of them I was like, oh, I would have a full staff. Like I would have an assistant, and I would like the amount of like social media, like the amount of stuff we could pump out. Like I would fully fund As Goes Wisconsin to be like my full vision of what it could be.
That would be cool.
But then I'd probably still have a lot of money left over and be like,
yeah, you have tons of money.
Here's some for you. Buy buy my parents a lake house.
I had a conversation with a friend once about that, and if I won like $1 billion, it would just be making sure that everybody I know and love is taken care of, whether it's paying off mortgages, school loans, buying, like getting college, all that stuff. And I was talking to my friend, and I told her like, yeah, I would give you a ton of money because I'd make it an interest, blah, blah, blah. She goes, oh, me too. I give everyone like $10,000. I'm like, what? You give me $10,000? I mean, not to look a gift horse in the mouth, but we're talking about like you winning $1 billion and you're going to give me what is like less than a fraction of a fraction of a fraction. And I have not spoken to her since.
Yeah,
all right.
Fair. That's the right reaction.
Idiot politician news. Ron Johnson has paid $400,000 to himself. The Oshkosh businessman and winner of the award for Deadest Eyes in the Senate 12 years of running is hitting up donors to help pay off his more than $8 million he's loaned his campaign. Now, everything he's doing is absolutely legal. I'm not complaining about that. It's fine. But when he asked if he was planned to continue to pay himself back, he said he didn't expect to get all the money back, but won't rule out further payments, then shrugged and got on an elevator. He can't even do something that's legal without acting like a low-rent Bond villain. And for the record, he's worth $80 million.
He's like one of the richest people in the Senate.
Yeah, but he put his income somewhere between 24 and 84 million.
Yeah.
That's a pretty broad gap there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's craziness. So yeah, way to go, Ron Johnson, you dead-eyed freak. Now finally, last one, Wisconsin news. Representative David Steffen and Green Bay and State Senator Rachel Cabral Guevara of Appleton are introducing new optional retirement income tax exemptions, which would completely eliminate state taxes for over 98% of all taxpayers 67 or over. Steffen and Cabral Guevara said in a joint statement that this exemption would attract new employees to Wisconsin. And I think that logic has made me create a new motto for Wisconsin, which is, Wisconsin, just wait 30 to 40 years and it's going to be awesome.
I saw that article.
Yeah.
I didn't read it, just like you said, as far as these headlines go.
Don't worry, folks. I did.
What is the logic? Because we can get it, I'll say it back to you because we only have a minute left.
There's
no taxes for if you're over 67.
No state income taxes.
And somehow that's going to attract working age people.
Yeah, and keep retirees in the state.
They're just trying to assuage seniors' fears that they're coming for Social Security and Medicare.
But don't worry, they've got great Democrats on board, like Lena Taylor, who is helping push the cause and saying people are spending a lot of money on shopping and a lot of money on going to restaurants. That's not what any of them sound like, but
we need to work on our impressions.
No, I like these ones because I feel like they'll get offensive if I do it.
All right. Well, that'll do it for our first hour of today's Wednesday Hump Day show. When we come back a little bit later, how do you feel about small talk? How do you deal with small talk? What's your go-to small talk question? Greg hates small talk. I know this already. So we're going to talk about that. Jesse Waters had a special guest on his show last night. And yes, we're going to talk about the Women's World Cup. So big next hour. Stay tuned. This is As Goes.
This is Lindsay Kindred at 540 WAUK The Shaw. At Civic Media, we love our local communities and want to share your stories. Submit your local event
so it goes. That's so it goes. That's so it goes.
Unrelentlessly positive.
That's so it goes. That's so it goes. That's so it goes. That's so it goes.
We're live.
Oh, okay. That was okay. Welcome back. This is As Goes Wisconsin. Welcome to the 11 o'clock hour of As Goes Wisconsin. I am your host, Kristen Bry, along with Jane Madnair and Greg Bach. So switching it up from politics that we were spending most of the first hour talking about. And I saw this article from Vice of I tried to cut small talk out of my life. It went badly. And it made me think of just, I feel like people always say they hate small talk. And so I'm asking you at home, how do you deal with small talk? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you avoid it? Do you have like go-to questions to make it more palatable? 844-967-2789. That's 844-96-PARTY. Greg, how do you feel about small talk?
Don't like it. And it's all about the mood I'm in when I'm walking the place. So like if I'm in a good mood, I can deal with it because I'm not going to be a jerk to anybody. But if I'm not feeling the room or I'm not feeling the day, I'll just keep to myself, and I have no problem doing that. I've sat in rooms with complete silence, and I'm fine with that. It's not offensive. It's not a slight on anyone I know, but I have no problem with silence.
So what do you think? Like, what do you feel like small talk? Like, what is small talk to you?
Small talk to me, well, first feels like a punishment. Two, it feels like it just feels like this necessity to uphold some part of the social contract that doesn't exist, that says we must engage if we're in close proximity. Because the thing is, those questions don't mean anything. Like, how's the weather? What's sports? Family?
What do you do?
Lawn? Movie? You know, unless you're willing to go into further conversation about it, and not like you have to get like 2 hours deep into it, but unless you're willing, A, to listen to someone talk about what they really think, B, take it in as, like, even if you disagree with them, and also maybe learn something, that's cool. That's good talk right there. That's great conversation. It doesn't have to be an hour. It can be 10 minutes. But if you're just like, if we're just sitting here waiting for a bus, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be windy today. Why did you say that? There's no reason to say that. I guess the thing is like it's in everybody else's head. It's different. Like some people just want to spark a conversation, see where it goes. I'm not that person. I don't need earbuds. I just won't talk. I'm great at it.
Have you always been great at it?
Yeah. But I can also engage in small talk because I know the other person is nervous. I'm not gonna be like, if you said to me like, oh man, what do you think of the Packers going to camp next week without Aaron Rodgers? I'm not gonna be like dead silent. I don't.
You'd be like, I don't
I would
want to talk about this with you.
But I would
be rude.
But I also wouldn't hesitate to say, I don't follow football. I'm sorry, and move on.
Interesting. Jane, what do you think?
I don't know that I'm particularly good at small talk. One of my sisters is amazing, but that's because she loves details.
Oh, so she has a lot of follow-up questions.
Loves details.
Well, then to me that evolves out of small talk. To me, small talk is like yes or no answers, real basic stuff. Once you start to get in the details, that's where the conversation can happen. Then, like, is your sister really good at sparking conversations with people?
Yeah, I would say so.
See, that's cool. Like, I don't mind that if you want to like have a chat, no problem with that. But if you want to talk to me about stuff that you could ask 20 other people and get the same answer, and kill me.
And see, that's how I feel about the details. It's like, I don't care that your friend's second cousin's husband is a curler. I don't care.
But Jane, what team do the curl for?
I don't care. And so that's where I start checking out when you start getting way into the weeds.
So you're fine with the how's it going? Like the
the
cordial exchange.
Yeah. Yeah. But when you start getting into the minutia, it's just either I got to reel you back in or I'm done.
I can show you with my eyes that you've said too much. I really can. Like, it's just my eyes start to glaze, get bigger, and like, and my head gestures get bigger because it's just like, if I need something from you, I'm going to ask you a question. I get the information. I don't need any more information beyond that. That's extraneous. Because then it's just like, I gotta go.
Because does it change if the small talk is with a stranger versus someone that you're actually like know? Or like, it's like you think about like water cooler talk or whatever, and like people you actually work with or, see on a regular basis, or maybe you're in the same friend group, but you're not like, you two aren't that close. Like, does that also like, but you're like, well, we're at this like social event and I got to say, like,
got to kill some time,
and so is it specifically with strangers or is it a different thing than small talk when it's with people that you know and will see again?
No, it's not the same. I'm the same way.
It's not the same way?
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. Like I will stand there and dead silent. Like if we're at a party or something like that and I see someone I'm acquainted with, I won't make the move to go talk to them. Unless if I've had cocktails, maybe yes. I mean that is always a motivator. But my general place is to be like, just stay quiet. If someone talks to you, great. Don't be rude. But I'm not one to be like, how's it going? Oh my gosh, I'm drinking the same beer. You like that beer?
We're talking about how are you with small talk? 844-967-2789.
I'd ask the question to you, but I know what your answer is. You're amazing with small talk because you're so outgoing and you're so caring
and curious.
And none of those things, I'm not saying any of those things to be funny or a joke. I truly love how genuinely curious you are with people. And you do have this bright personality that like
my shirt today.
Yes, exactly. It's like you're one side. I am definitely the other side of that shirt. But yeah, like you have like people gravitate towards you, but you are genuinely, you don't take that for granted because you want to know people and you want to get like, just you decided to volunteer at the comedy festival, not knowing anybody. And look 2 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
because I would say I like talking to people. Yeah. I get that certainly from my mom. My mom is a queen of small talk.
Oh, Debbie Bry.
Oh, Debbie Bry. Debbie Bry will get your life story out of you. Like the best story about Debbie Bry making small talk is when we lived in California in Los Angeles. We lived in an apartment complex. There was a dog park connected to the dog park, the complex, and that woman made friends with every single person who had a dog in that building. So much so that one year, what it must have been 2004. Yeah, it was the Summer Olympics. She put on the Summer Dog Olympics in that dog park. And I swear to God, I think there was 15 different people who she had become friends with from all walks of life. And like, it all just started with her coffee or her wine, depending on what time of day it was, where she was at the dog park. Just, well, who are you? Where are you from? How did you get to California?
because Debbie Bry, as well as you do, I don't know your dad as well.
Not as much of a small talk guy.
But your dad is so adorable. Has a genuine curiosity. There's the difference. And that's where I almost think then it's not small talk. Your mom has a mission to know this person, and she's going to do it by any means necessary, whether it's just a chat at the outside the house or literally setting up a competitive dog event, and I think there's something beautiful about that because that means your mom cares and means there's a love there and that love is in you as well. I see that happening. I see you talk to people and have an interested demeanor when you're talking to them.
And I think I usually assume the best out of people too,
yeah,
which
absolutely.
A lot of people don't as well.
Yeah.
How are you with small talk? 844-967-2789. That's 844-96-PARTY.
Jesse from Madison is joining us. Good morning, Jesse. How are you with small talk?
Morning. I think small talk is it's a tool, right? I mean, it's like if you're building a campfire and the deep conversation about waxing philosophical or talking about memories, that's like a big heavy log, and you can't just light a log with a match. Small talk is just the kindling that gets things going. Now, if you've known someone for a long time, you probably don't need that, right? You've got some embers in the fire already going. But if you're just at a bus stop, if you're at a bar, if you're out and about, you're meeting someone for the first time, that's like the stepping stone to kind of like feel them out and think about and figure out what's the next slightly deeper level, or how deep of a level of conversation can I go with this person that we can engage and find common ground on?
I want to take the comparison further. When I get drinks in me, it's like lighter fluid.
I think that's a good point. I think
you're great at small talk. You just don't remember that you like small talk in that situation.
Correct.
And I think you make a really good analogy, though, Jesse. I do. I think it's a good analogy.
I think, yeah, the kindling and thinking of it as a tool, but I also think it comes back to what is your goal? Like, I think there is the goal to have an actual conversation with someone who's new? Is the goal to make it less awkward and the silence that is between you? Or is it something else? And so I think that comes back to, like, if you're just filling the void because you're not good with silence, then I can see why people are like, this is excruciating. Thanks so much for the call, Jesse.
This is awful.
This is because it's funny that we talk about the drinking aspect of it, because like I do like to get to like deeper conversations quickly if I can.
Yeah.
But it was the experience of these last, where are we now? 7 months of not drinking. And in certain groups of friends where there's always drinking. Like specifically, it was, I think, the Kentucky Derby. And I was like at the end of the first trimester. So still like kind of tired, kind of cranky, not drinking. And everyone was drinking. And I was just annoyed. I was annoyed first because the conversations were so shallow. And they were only getting more so as people were drinking more.
Yeah.
But then I also realized that when I'm drinking, I would be perfectly fine to have you having all these conversations. I would be the social butterfly, and I was like, am I not fun without booze? And the existential crisis has set in.
Are these my friends or my drinking friends?
Exactly. All right. Well, how do you feel about small talk? How do you deal with small talk? 844-967-2789. Do you have a go-to opening line question? Because we, when we come back, we have a certain TikToker.
It's the Max Inc. Radio Concert Series at the Waukesha County Fair, Thursday, July 20th on the Whammy and Guitars for Vet stage, featuring Iron Plow, Karma Shotgun, and Talent. Music starts at 7:30, hosted by WAUK's Don Brown. The Waukesha County Fair on the Whammy and Guitars for Vet stage. Find more info at guitars4vets.org. Presented by WAUK 540 AM, The Shaw 101 FM, and Max Inc. Radio. We are local music.
This summer, 540 AM WAUK has a new lineup.
Yes, that's awesome.
Starting at 6 a.m. Up North News, 8 to 10, The Earl Ingram Show. Mondays, 8 to 9, Under the Helmet with the Grave Digger, Gilbert Brown and Earl Ingram. 10 to 12, As Goes Wisconsin. At noon, Civic Media Network News. At 12:15, Town Call. 1 to 3, The Todd Alba Show. 3 to 4, Matt Flynn Direct. 4 to 6, The Devil's Advocates with Dom and Crute. And 6 to 7, The Maggie Dawn Show on 540 AM WAUK.
Hey, Dan Kelly, you went around the state saying there had been fraud and the election should be overturned. You did that. You took $120,000 in pay from the Republican Party, not in a donation, pay. The most recent payment was in December, and we don't know if you're still being paid. And you've been endorsed by some of the biggest election deniers in the state. And you're shining me with, I don't know how I rule. I know how you'd rule. I know how you'd rule.
Matt Flynn Direct, weekday afternoons from 3 until 4 on the Civic Media Network and on the Civic Media app.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. A blend of clouds and sun this afternoon with highs around 84. Southerly winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. Partly cloudy skies again tonight. Chance for scattered thunderstorms. Lows level off around 63. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times tomorrow. Chance for scattered thunderstorms. Highs level off around 81. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 70.
Yes, great idea. Here's a list of things to ask on a first date instead of the boring small talk one. Number 1, if no one ever sneezed again, how long do you think it would take you to notice? Number 2, which cult would you be most interested in joining and why? Next up, if you could breed 2 different species of animals together, which ones would they be? And explain your work. If the purge was real, what's a crime you're committing first? And if that crime is murder, who would it be and explain your reason? Which Breaking Bad character do you think eats ass? Next, do Android users deserve to vote in the general election? If all of the people you've ever slept with were in a room together right now, what would they roast you about? Next, how many countries have you taken? And finally, what's your relationship like with your mom?
That is from a TikToker, Ashwee Carter, and I came across this as far as actually I think I've come across part 2, which we'll play in a second, and then found part 1 as far as giving suggestions on other types of questions. That was more specifically for a first date, but I think it falls under small talk and avoiding the obvious questions of like what do you do, or the weather,
what are you into,
or how's work, or and so,
or don't say anything because you chose a first date to go to a movie.
But now I actually want to ask, how long do you think it would take you to notice if no one ever sneezed ever again?
I don't.
I love that question.
It would take me until someone else asked me, like, do you notice no one sneezed? I'm like, oh, I think you're right. I don't think. Yeah.
I don't think I would notice.
Yeah. I'd only notice if someone else brought it up.
All right. Which cult would you join and why?
Oh, I could easily go Scientology just because I know so much about it.
And you'd probably get an acting career out of
I would
it.
very much get an acting career out of it. I'd definitely get some Emmys looking at someone, Miss Moss. What now? Yeah, I'd probably start with I'd probably go Scientology. What about you?
Okay. I don't know that many cults.
Yeah.
I feel like, what was the one? I feel like if there's any cults there where there's like commune living, where it's like very communal and we're all helping each other, and it's like a little bit more.
But then
there's not like drinking or like abuse involved, or is there any like cults like that? Like drinking of Kool-Aid, I meant.
It was actually Flavor Aid. Whatever. Well, it means a lot to Kool-Aid people. No, that's the thing is like Scientology isn't built. Scientology is built on money, fear, and power. It's not built on like sex or booze or anything
or
like that.
Community, right?
Or faith.
It's not based on faith either. It's not really built on community. They tell you it's community, but it's not. And if there's anyone in Scientology listening to this, come at me, bro.
All right, we got a caller on the line. Who are we talking to?
We have Julie from Franklin joining us. Good morning, Julie. How are you with small talk?
Good morning. How are you guys?
We're
Peachy. Good small talk start.
Good small talk, yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of small talk. So I'm I'm old, first of all, and I kind of believe that small talk is like essential in society. And where I'm coming at is like customer service jobs, sales jobs. I think we're losing that because there's not as much one-on-one interaction in society anymore. I think the kids aren't really learning how to talk to people face to face. And I think small talk is essential for that. I think it's like there's nothing better than going to your mechanic or a store you go to a lot and somebody knows you, and because they've had some small talk with you, or a receptionist somewhere. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I think it's essential. I do think it's kind of irrelevant, a lot of the facts, but it does make people feel good when you remember personal things about them from a prior conversation. I think it builds relationships, but like in business and in personal life, I think it's kind of essential for society.
And certainly in sales, Julie, you make a great point. Sales is all about relationships.
Yeah. And there is something nice when you go into your mechanic and they're like, hey, Greg, what's going on? I'm like, oh, you're my...
Absolutely. Thanks so much for the call, Julie. I think that's a great point as far as, because it's like and I think because both can be true. it can be irrelevant, but important.
Yeah. I will say from the other side of the customers, like, so I think in the form of like these relationships you could form for life, just in those, like your barber, your mechanic, maybe your real estate agent too, if you move a lot, like whatever that is, there's those are cool. When you work in customer service and someone tries to small talk you, there is
over the phone.
Yeah. And you're like, what may I help you with?
And I wonder how much of this also comes down to being in person. So I was sitting on this topic. I was like, I don't know, I'll figure out a good day to talk about this, but this is why you read a lot. So you have a repository of things to tap into.
Good word.
But there is a Dutch supermarket that introduced a unique slow checkout lane for lonely seniors who want to have a chat.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So one of the primary problems that older people face globally is loneliness, especially in urban areas where life is hectic and becoming more and more digital. In order to combat this from a very common front, the grocery store checkout, a Dutch business came up with an idea, a chat checkout. And I will say, and again, I know that because I like people, but I would say, like, when I go to like a bread store and there's actually that like small moment of an exchange in person with someone who's serving, like, how can I help you? And like actually having a nice, like, this is the problem I think with everything being replaced by with like tablets.
Yeah.
And like you order, instead of talking to a waiter, you order on a tablet, or you all do all these things. And so I will say, I think Julie makes a really good point as far as like the actual need for human interaction.
Yeah.
That like ultimately is kind of just small talk.
I like those small talk things, especially when it's like, yeah, it's like at the bread store. How you doing? Good to see you. Take care. Goodbye. It's small. It's in time and in chat.
All right.
844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. If you are on the line, hold on, because we're coming up against a break.
But we're going to keep on this topic.
Yes.
Heck yeah.
Who thought? Who knew that there was so much? People would have so much to say about small talk.
Oh, you're so proud of yourself for that one.
All right. We're taking a break. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
We're up when the sun comes up, before it comes up, and we're inside during the day, and when the sun goes down, we're out walking and going through the park.
There have been high water rescues today in parts of Kentucky after heavy rain and flooding. A judge says no new trial for former President Trump in the case won earlier this year by writer E. Jean Carroll, and no reduction in the $5 million jury award. Legal analyst Thane Rosenbaum.
This is the civil case brought in federal court in which Carroll alleged that President Trump raped her many years earlier and then defamed her by publicly denying what he had done.
Lawsuit in the Northwestern football hazing story. Attorney Ben Crump.
It is a toxic culture that was rampant in the athletic department at Northwestern University.
CBS News Brief. I'm Steve Kathan.
Looking for more local programming? Check out our website, civicmedia.us, to see our entire lineup.
With news on WAUK The Shaw, I'm Stuart J. Waddles, and here's what you need to know. The Waukesha County Fair starts today. The oldest fair in Wisconsin is celebrating 181 years with a theme of seeing is believing. Paul Melodick, a Republican candidate, won the special election in the 24th Assembly District with 53% of the vote, defeating Democrat Bob Tatterson. The plan to relocate the Milwaukee Public Museum to a new downtown location has taken a step forward. Jimmy Koska has more.
The Plan Commission has approved a zoning change for the proposed museum site at West McKinley Avenue and North 6th Street. The zoning change still requires the approval of the Common Council. The museum intends to begin construction on the new $200 million building early next year and aims to complete the move to its new facility by 2026.
With news on WAUK, I'm Stuart J. Waddles.
Living happily ever after isn't always a reality. If you're over 50 and are considering divorce, attorney Andrea Gage with the Everson Law Firm can provide the guidance you need. Andrea focuses on silver divorces, the kind that get more complicated over time and present unique challenges. A family, multiple properties, significant assets. Andrea and the team at Everson Law have the experience to protect your interests. Call Everson Law to set up an appointment with Andrea today. It's never too late to be happy. Everson Law, 920-435-3734.
Attention, Wisconsin veterans.
Hello, I'm Tony Evers, the governor of Wisconsin. If you are veterans struggling to pay for rent, utilities, or other life-sustaining services, I want you to know that the Veterans Rental Assistance Program is here to help. You have already made a most noble sacrifice. You shouldn't have to continue doing so. We are here to support you. The Veterans Rental Assistance Program was created by and for people living in Wisconsin, with benefit approvals being issued to veterans in just days, not months. It's never easy to ask for assistance, but rest assured, we're here to help. You've always been there for us. We want you to know that we're here for you. Call 833-WIS-VRAP. That's 833-947-8727, or visit vrapwi.com. On behalf of the state of Wisconsin, thank you.
Hey, this is Matt from Design Garden. Remember when the internet was new? Back then, you had to leave your house to start a business. Companies used to pay programmers bags of cash to get online. Now, small businesses can get online with a Facebook business page or Squarespace.
Yes, of course, your wish is my command. Here is part 2 of things you can talk about instead of small talk. Number 1, how much alcohol would it take for you to sleep with the Pope? Number 2, which theme park would you pull an Ocean's 11 style heist at and why? If it's a Disney park, explain why you chose that one. Next, if there was a book of every positive and negative thing a person has ever said about you ever, would you want to read it? And yes, you have to look at the negative parts first. Next up, if you could time travel back in time hundreds of years, which disease are you most afraid of getting? Is it the one where diarrhea is fatal? If you could bring back any dead celebrity, but they can only come back in their peak form and they have to star in a romantic comedy, who would you choose? Which of the Avengers do you think has gotten an STD? Do you think bras exist in the Star Wars universe? And lastly, so where'd you grow up?
That is part 2 from the TikTok from Ash Wee Carter, giving you suggestions on small talk questions that you can start a more interesting conversation than, where are you from? What do you do? And I have some follow-up questions, but we have some people who have been waiting on the line very patiently,
Yes.
so let's get right to them.
844-967-2789. Hawk from Madison. Hey, Hawk, what do you think about small talk?
It's funny because my wife hates it. She's an introvert, and I do it kind of for a living. But I have a kind of funny story about how small talk can go wrong. Like, so you know how you go to a coffee shop or whatever, and you're checking out, and you're like, "Oh, how are you?" And you're like, "How are you?" And you say it back, like, because the person checking you out be like, "Oh, how's your day?" And you're like, "Oh, good." And then you just say it back to them, like, "Oh, how are you doing?" And I was buying coffee, and this guy, he just went into this whole well, life is pretty miserable right now, and he went into this whole depression, his whole life.
He gave you an honest answer.
Yeah, I was just being polite, man, and all of a sudden I was like, I gotta go, bro. This coffee was to go. I can't solve your.
And then I was talking to this guy at a coffee shop, and he walked away. What's wrong with my life?
Yeah, totally. Oh my God, it was horrible. Yeah. Anyway, so they can go, but anyway, I do think it's important to learn some of those skills because when you work in an environment with other people, I do think small talk is a skill. And being able to do it a little bit is, I think, important, kind of, right?
Yeah.
A little bit.
And basic communications is very, very important to living a healthy and happy life, I believe. But at some point, let's just knock it off. When you got that training, it's like, I don't have to keep training to talk to people. I know how to do that now. I learned that when I was 10. Now I don't need to. I've opted out. I've retired from small talk. You want to talk to me? Go deep. I'll listen to your coffee story, buddy. I'll listen.
Well, good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call, Hawk.
844-967-2789. Gary from Sussex is on the line. Good morning, Gary. How do you feel about small talk?
I use small talk a lot. It works well for me, even though I do long talk, and that's a problem because I'm an extrovert. My wife's an introvert. She said, just give me yes or no. That's all it is. Just yes or no. And I
I feel for that. I love that.
All right. But I own a heating company. My wife and I, we both own it. It's a G&B, heating and air conditioning. Okay. She does the billing. I do the work. Okay. When I go to someone's house, what I do is I always have a dog treat in my pocket. What happens, the worst thing that could happen is you go there and you want to talk to the people about their needs or whatever, whatever. The dog's barking and you get really distracted. So I have the dog treats in my pocket and I give the dog a treat. And I ask them, of course, first. And I tell them they're all made in America. I get the name of the dog. And then if they decide they want to go with me, put a furnace in, I always write the dog's name up on the top on the contract. So when I come back later on, they just feel really good about the decision that they made, because, if their dog likes you, they're going to like you. And it seems to work. And they can tell right away that I'm a dog lover. I got a dog at home and I just love the dogs. And if the dog can tell whether you love the dog or not, how you pet it and stroke it and everything. But dogs, they want their people's attention, just like the little kids. It's the same thing. I have Candy with me. I go into the house and I'm talking to the parents and the kids are just pulling on them. Mom, I'm talking to Gary. So I asked them, I said, well, can I give them candy? And then they're fine. And then they have a treat. And then I'm talking with them. So small talk is good, but sometimes it gets into long talk, and that's one of my problems.
Or it's one of your blessings, Gary.
Yeah,
it sounds like it actually has done you very well in your career and in probably your happiness level.
And I think that's just so thoughtful of you to write down the dog's name and bring treats and be prepped like that.
But here's the real question. Do you write down the kids' names and do you ever swap the kids and the dog's name when you come back?
Does the kid want a dog treat?
Believe it or not, I do have Candy in my truck, but it's very seldom do I have to give it out. It's mostly the dogs.
Okay.
I would say over half of my customers have dogs. I mean, dogs are a blessing from God. I really do. It's like they're a gift from God. Cats are from the devil.
And kids are from Passaic, New Jersey.
Thanks so much for the call, Gary.
Direct your complaints about cats to Gary. And
there was so much happening there with Gary. I love that. Just this beautiful tale, and then just throwing that gauntlet down the opinion. But Gary, you're not wrong.
That's so funny. And so I got distracted.
But those are great examples of targeted small talk too. Like those are like, you want to be amiable when you're in a business, especially like that. You're coming to someone's home, you're going to charge them probably a lot of money. And like heating and cooling, most likely you're going in there when they need you and it's frustrating time. So yeah, it's nice to have like a little chit chat. That's all great stuff. Yeah. I just don't like, once again, I just don't like the small talk for no sake whatsoever.
And now I'm thinking of my uncle who lives in Rapids. Shout out to my uncle Dan, who is he works for Solaris, which is like a cable internet provider. And like, that's all he does all day, right? Is go into people's houses and
chat.
Install internet or check why internet is not working.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of how much small talk he has to do in a day and how potentially exhausted he is after at the end of the day. Because like for some of us, if that one good conversation can really give you like an adrenaline boost and like dopamine for the day.
Yeah.
But if it's a lot of conversations that really were dragging, that also can
I work
be
in local
draining.
politics. It was mostly draining small talk and
like knocking doors.
No, I always like knocking doors because
there's a goal.
There's a goal, and you never know what could happen. There's a lot of fun stories in that. But just like when you're sitting behind that desk and someone walks in, I mean, Parks and Rec resonates for me a lot. I mean, some of those questions, people would like come up and be like, hey, I need this thing. Cool. Go upstairs to housing and development, give them the sheet. They'll take care of you. Yeah. Cause see what happened was, nope, you've already told them about your thing. We're done now. Please go upstairs. I've given you the next direction. We are Finished.
All right. Well, going back to the part 2 of the TikTok, if you had to, I'm going to ask now.
Yeah.
If there was a book that had everything ever said about you, negative and positive.
Nope.
No.
No.
Yeah.
You do it?
Yeah.
Because you think you have thick enough skin, the negative stuff?
I think so. I know I would crumble, but
Oh, wait.
I would like to think I would be tough enough to read
Jay,
that.
I would just be wiping the tears with pages of the book. And then I don't know and then the nice stuff, I'd be like, they're liars.
Especially if you have to read the negative stuff first.
I don't have that kind of person. I think it's no. My therapist would never allow that. You're not there yet, buddy.
I used to, when I was a teenager, I used to write down all the the compliments that stuck with me.
Yeah.
I had a book of things. So whenever I was feeling down, I would go back and read them.
When I was a youth minister at a place called Time Out at our in our retreats, we have these things called Palanca bags, which
Palanca bags?
Palanca bags.
That's fun to say.
And I still have all of them in a shoebox. And they're basically, you put your name on it, you decorate it, put it on the wall or put it wherever. And over the course of the retreat, people would drop just wonderful little affirmations. And they'd sign them so you know who said it. And at the end of the retreat, we all sat down and inevitably everyone starts crying. And then the only problem is sometimes you get you go to a retreat, you're like, oh my gosh, my bag is so full. And then you get there's 4 of them in here. What did I do? But I still have all of them, every single bag.
So you want the compliments, but don't want the negatives.
I don't want either, honestly. Just love me from afar.
Just
and for the record, Iron Man totally got the STI. He's the one who
sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Then Thor.
844-967-2789, 844-96 Party. Kathy from Madison. Good morning, Kathy. We're talking small talk.
I wasn't sure if I should call in because you might not ever get me off the phone. I'm the absolute, I am the queen. I go into the chocolate shop for ice cream with my kids once a week, and I'm best friends with Caleb, the guy who scoops the ice cream. I'm that person that you probably would like to get away from, but can't. So I could not resist calling your show because this is my love language. My job is I'm the bouncer at Costco.
The bouncer at Costco. Have you ever had to bounce someone out of there? Just chat their ear off?
This receipt does not reflect your purchases.
Oh, it's I'm sorry. They missed this. I'm very sorry. But it's a fun job. It's kind of perfect for somebody like me who can never shut up. So
Kathy, then does it come from a place of curiosity, or where do you feel what is the kind of the intrinsic motivation as far as are you just like people?
I like people. I think it's genetic. My dad ran a bar.
Okay.
And he's Irish, I'm Irish, and we are good talkers. So I find people interesting. It's just it's a really fun job. I just I like people. Maybe I should run for office.
Maybe you should.
Maybe you should.
There you go.
Likable person.
There you go.
Thanks so much for the call, Kathy. See, it was an appropriate amount of time. We got her off the phone.
If you want to check in, 844-967-2789. You can also text as well if you are not interested in small talk and you just want to make your point.
Yeah, so you just want to
make it short and sweet.
Well, because in the original article that inspired this entire conversation, basically it was someone who hates small talk, and so their coworkers sent them a Harvard business research as far as how to replace small talk with more serious, I would say a little more serious questions. Although I think the questions from the TikTok actually do get conversation going. But his first was trying to get out the things it's been forever, when you run into someone, or how's work, how's the weather, and trying to root out those questions. And the questions that he replaced them with, and this was from the advice from the Harvard Business Review article, was starting with these conversations, and I think on paper they sound good, but kind of the point of this article is like in practice, it was still just as awkward.
Ask me a question like as if we were just having like, like just.
What excites you right now, Greg?
Oh God, kill me. A Marvel property that isn't disappointing.
That excites you?
Yeah, the prospect of maybe
the prospect of one. Yeah. One does not exist right now.
Yeah.
Jane, what are you looking forward to?
Vacation.
All right. Yeah. That's a good.
And that's it. Conversation. Can I just have my ham sandwich, please?
Where did you grow up?
Here.
Yep, that's exactly said. Ask this to anyone under 23 and they'll respond blankly that they grew up at home, I guess. Ask this to anyone over 23 and they think you're trying to commit credit card fraud.
Do you know what time it is? Yes.
All right. Is there a charitable, this is small talk. Is there a charitable cause you support, Jane?
The Humane Society. Absolutely.
So that could spark a conversation.
Yep.
That's a pretty good one.
I like that one.
Do you have one?
Sojourner House.
There you go.
Love that one too.
Mm-hmm.
This is one that I feel like, Greg, you would like. Who is your favorite superhero?
Captain America.
Why Captain America?
Because Captain America's morals never faltered under any pressure. He was always about freedom. And when freedom was redefined by outside forces, he was always about living your life, being as free and as happy as possible. And there's a really good video talking about that, how Steve Rogers in the movies, you see his morals always stay intact. They never change versus everybody else redefining what freedom, America, happiness is. He's like, no, that's not it.
See, if someone asked you as a
I'd
small
probably
talk
start
question,
to cry.
you'd probably, yeah, there you go. So we found a good one.
I'm an emotional long talker.
All right, when we come.
I was walking down the high street when I heard footsteps behind me, and there was a little old man in scarlet and grey.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Metnair and Greg Buck.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
I love that, by the way, that you know that song.
Of course I do. It's
His
David Bowie.
face lit up.
It's David Bowie.
David Bowie, The Laughing Gnome.
Oh, we've talked about that before.
Mhm.
I find that so
It's one of his
hilarious.
earlier songs where he was just so British. I'm singing a song about England and things that only English people know, like tea.
On that note, what's coming up at the Laughing Tap this weekend, Greg Buck?
Oh, my mother glory. It's one Chastity Washington, who is, in my opinion, the funniest human being in Milwaukee.
Oh.
3 shows this weekend. 7:30 Friday, 7:30 Saturday, 10 o'clock Saturday. And those tickets are available at laughingtap.com. And guess what?
What?
I will be there performing as well.
What?
Yeah, I will be featuring. So I'm what they're called the middle comic. So there'll be the host, then there'll be me, and then there'll be Chastity.
Oh, that's awesome, Greg.
Yeah, I'm excited. Chastity asked me to feature for her. This was by her request, and that makes me feel very good because Chastity is a very good friend of mine. I care and love her deeply. She's fantastic. And just released a comedy special on Prime Video called Live at Dandy.
Oh,
Yes.
which is also in Milwaukee.
Which is also in Milwaukee, owned by Ryan and Just Day, who are wonderful people. We have a show there once a month called A Dandy Comedy Show. And yeah, it's going to be a great time. She is absolutely wonderful. She's a teacher and she brings a lot of teaching stories. She's just lived a great life and absolutely hilarious. We have a little clip of her talking about, I believe, her mom. So here's our clip.
But you know what? I'm grateful. I have an awesome family. I have an interesting mama, though. My mama is something else, y'all. Some of y'all might be able to attest to this. Where your mom, she just call you and she don't want you. Anybody had that? When she call, hang up, call, hang up, call, hang up, and then leave a message that don't make no sense. It's a real message my mother left on my phone. Hello, Chaz. Hello, is she there? Old people think the beep is you. Hello? Chaz, listen, I think the girl downstairs making meth in the basement. I think she know I know. She'll come up here, she gonna kill me. I don't want to bother you. Call me back. What's wrong with you? Ain't nobody making meth in your basement. They selling weed.
That is just a snippet. I mean, and it is just high energy comedy, very, very relatable, very funny, coming from one of the best people to do it, in my opinion. And Chastity is just fantastic. And it's a treat to have her at the tap. It's a treat to work with her. It's a treat to see her. So I think if you want to see some great comedy this weekend, and what's great is that this month, all tickets at the tap are $15.
Oh,
that is such a good deal.
Yeah. So
and no drink minimum.
Right.
As
no
always.
drink minimum and $15 tickets. And if you want Barron's Brother Comedy Show, well, too bad.
Too bad.
Not this month. But yeah, so Chastity Washington this weekend, as I said, Friday, 2 shows on Saturday, 7:30 and 10 o'clock on Saturday.
And you get to see Greg.
And you get to see me on stage.
You have new material?
I have a few new jokes I've been working on. Yeah. But yeah, it's exciting stuff. So it'll be a fun time. And yeah, go to laughingtap.com to get your tickets before they're gone.
All right. Well, we've been sitting on this, and I think it's a good way to end the show.
Are you pregnant?
Yes.
Okay.
Welcome to the show.
I knew it. I win.
I came across this last night, but mother knows best. Jesse Waters, longtime Fox News personality, officially took over from Tucker Carlson in Fox News's 8 p.m. primetime slot.
That's the slot.
On Monday night.
No.
And his mom, first-time caller, longtime parent, had some thoughts. Turns out she's a Democrat.
Yikes.
And I'm surprised they let this fly, honestly. She called into the show, and we have a clip.
We have a very special guest on the line, a Democrat, my mom. How have you enjoyed the show so far?
I have enjoyed the show. I want to say congratulations, Honey Bun. We are so proud of you and your accomplishment. Now let's aim to have you keep your job.
Okay.
Do not tumble into any conspiracy rabbit holes. We do not want to lose you, and we want no lawsuits.
Okay.
Use your voice responsibly to promote conversation that maintains a narrative thread. there really has been enough Biden bashing, and the laptop is old. Perhaps you could suggest that your people take less interest, for example, in other people's bodies and talk about that.
Oh, wait. We're trying to keep other people's interests away from children's bodies. That was the point of that segment. Mom, I love you.
Wait.
I knew this was a bad idea.
Seek solutions versus fanning the flames. You could encourage that Bedminster friend of yours to return to his earlier career on television. Everyone in his audience could wear a red hat, and I'm sure the ratings would soar, although never as high, my darling, as yours on Jesse Waters Primetime. Good luck.
Thank you very much, Mom. I love you very much. And,
I love you. I'm thinking that a small dinner between 5 and 8 would be the way to go.
We gotta go, Mom. This is just like how things are at home. I love you. Bye.
I love Mrs. Waters.
I love Mrs. Waters. That was good
Can we
advice.
get her on our show?
That was really good advice.
I'm trying to figure out the motivation of them doing that. There is a reason.
So that we're all talking about it?
I don't know, but that doesn't happen by accident.
Because the thing is that here's the problem with Jesse Waters is he's not smart enough to have those conversations. He's a dum-dum. The fact that they gave him 8 p.m. that he has to know that he was their 9th choice. There's nobody like.
I have no idea. I don't know how the winner works. I just wanted to talk about his mom because I thought her advice was also very motherly, and it was great.
Yes.
And I love that she's a Democrat and she has to stomach the fact that her son, her baby boy, is the new face of Fox.
I love her. I want to.
She kind of reminded me of Kathy.
I hope she calls back again.
I feel like that's how Kathy probably talks to her kids.
Honey bun.
What do you do, Mrs.
Isn't
Waters?
the man in his 40s? Honey bun.
My mother still calls me honey.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, of course.
You underestimate mothers and their sons.
All right.
Yeah. Well, she's always like, I'm always going to be your mother. I'm always your mother. I'm like, yeah, I understand that.
All right. We got to wrap up.
My gosh.
Did you not hear that before? I got to surprise you with it.
I did not hear that. I was lovely stuff here. So.
All right. Well, you got out of having to talk about women's soccer.
I would have talked about it. You were, by the way, the first half of the show did not like the attitude. You're snipey.
Okay.
Snipey.
All right. Well, thank you for calling. Thank you for texting. Thank you for being part of today's show. We will be back tomorrow with a new public service announcement. And Paul Noonan will be back for some sports. This has been As Goes Wisconsin.